different tools that are in use. OSSIM, which is a very, very popular open source tool from AlienVault. Snort, which is an intrusion detection system. OpenVAS, which is a vulnerability scanner. So basically, we're looking for weaknesses in different systems. OCS inventory, as the name implies, allows us to track our inventory. So for example, things like routers, switches, wireless access points. So that way we can kind of keep an eye on and say, hey, what happened to that wireless access point we used to have in the closet? We know that, hey, we've left it in there. We should probably take that, down because it's old. And then SIFT is a forensic tool from the SANS Institute that actually is kind of a package of tools that allows you to do a forensic investigation. Now, again, we're going to be kind of deep diving into different forensic tools as we go through the actual incident response and forensic model. So I don't want to touch on it too much here, but these are some common tools that are in use. There's a whole lot of other ones, especially on the forensic side of the house. For example, like FTK Imager, the autopsy platform as well. So there's a lot of different ones, as I mentioned, in forensics. If you ever get the urge to take the EC Council CHFI exam, the cert that I have, there's like over 300 tools tested. So not to scare you away, but there's a lot of tools to know. Joe's chuckling in the background.
It's
yes.
Absolute mayhem how many tools are on.
It is. And most of them you'll never use, like the very obscure tools, but just so you know they're out there. A typical day, right? So incident response or forensics. So I kind of focus this more on incident response because that's a more common job role that you'll find out there. And then I'll touch on a little bit of like a forensics investigator typical day. So typical day, performing like risk assessments. So as I mentioned, like vulnerability scanning, different risks, like analyzing what are the critical business systems that the company is using and are they vulnerable to certain things. Monitoring or getting alerted to abnormal behavior. So again, the network engineers are critical there to say, hey, wait, this doesn't look right? This is not the normal story or movie script of our network. Let me tell the incident response person so they can take a look and see what's going on. Suspicious activities. So for example, if we notice that Joe was downloading a lot of photos of my cat, that may be suspicious. Maybe I have an alert on that and I can go and say, hey, what are you doing, man? And he says, oh, I'm just doing it for my PowerPoint. I say, okay, cool. But at least somebody's reported it. That kind of goes back to that see something, say something, as you always hear like, DHS or FBI saying, if you see something, say something, along those lines as well, right? So we want to encourage our end users to tell us if something doesn't look right so we can come investigate it. As I mentioned, we do have a career path, so that's actually the SOC analyst or Security Operations Center analyst. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But that's kind of the main career path of the incident response. That's one of the main jobs that you'll actually be doing. And you'll kind of start out as a SOC like junior analyst. And then as you move through into the more mid into advanced level, you'll kind of branch off into the incident response. And a lot of SOC analysts that are at a senior level are actually working as incident responders. And then a lot of people that are actually like in an individual incident response role or part of a team, they'll actually manage like kind of the senior level SOC people. So again, it's kind of that natural progression through the different job roles. Now,
and I want to address, because I know somewhere there's a SOC analyst watching this video screaming at the computer.
Yes.
It's sort of a frog's toad situation.
Yes.
Not all SOC analysts are forensic investigators or incident responders, but all incident responders have SOC analyst backgrounds, which is why the incident response and forensics is built off of our SOC career path, because all of those skills are what you're going to use as an incident responder.
Exactly. So to touch on what Joe said, so basically the SOC analyst career path is going to prepare you not just for SOC analysts, but also incident response jobs and forensic jobs as well. So obviously you need a little experience to get like a forensics investigator job, unless you go in the Navy like Joe, and then they may have something for you. But you also have to swim and stuff like that in case you don't like swimming. So,
well, if you swim in the Navy, something has gone very, very wrong.
Yes, something's wrong with the ship, and swimming may not assist you.
That's why we wear blue camo.
Yes, exactly. Blend right in the ocean. Anyways, we're digressing again, but again, we're just having fun with this course, and that's kind of the whole
having
point.
A good time.
Yes. So let me just touch on a typical day as like a forensic investigator, right? So obviously somebody will alert you that, hey, we need to investigate something. So like if you're an FBI agent, for example, and I'll base this model off my friends that work in this role. So basically, you'll get a caseload, you'll get something from like the special agents saying, hey, this is what's going on. Can you take a closer look? Or we seized the computer once we were raiding this house over here for this street gang. Can you take a look at it and let us know what you find? So sometimes it may be a little blurry on what you're looking for, but you'll just kind of go through this process that'll be in place. So essentially you're looking for things like images, any kind of pertinent data. A lot of tools out there like the NCASE tool will actually search like general areas and search for a lot of things like images. For example, like if it's a child porn investigation, they'll search for different commonalities in images from previous child porn investigations, so it helps you find those images faster. So a lot of things like that. So basically you get the information about some kind of investigation, and then from there you go through the process of securing the evidence, gathering the information from it, making a copy of the evidence. That's a big thing. So that way you don't mess anything up. Not altering the evidence. So again, some things will change as once you're doing an investigation and acquiring the evidence. There'll be some minor changes. So we'll talk about, once we dive into that particular module, we'll talk about a little bit about live and static acquisition slightly. But as you go through like the SOC analyst career path, you'll take an actual forensic course that'll walk you through that stuff. But essentially just understand that we get the case, then from there we gather the evidence, we collect it, we try our best not to alter it, we make a copy of it, from there we analyze the evidence, and then we generate a report off the evidence to like the prosecutor or whomever, and then from there it's actually taken to court and presented, or if it's like a civil case or administrative, it may not be, but in a criminal case we would take it to the court, present it. Of course, we probably are going to be on the stand getting grilled by like the defense attorney, screaming, telling us we're terrible, and trying to discredit everything we've done. But as long as we follow the process and the chain of custody, then we should be good to go for that particular case. So that's a very, very high level overview of a forensic investigation, but that's kind of the typical day of a forensic investigator. Job prospects. So much of this is based off incident response, because for forensics, it's somewhat tough to find like a forensic investigator job unless, as I mentioned, you're going to be going into law enforcement, or if you're already working like as a law enforcement officer, this might be something that you kind of branch off to with your department. But incident response wise, this is kind of the numbers just from going to some job search websites, 6 to about 20,000. Keep in mind that a lot of roles, so again, mentioning like, hey, any recruiters watching, a lot of roles kind of like mention incident response, but aren't really for incident response. So that's where kind of the higher number shows up there. But there are a lot of job prospects, if you just kind of play around in your search results, right? So if you look for incident response, if you look for like digital forensics or forensics, if you look for SOC analyst or analyst, if you play with search terms like that, you should find a good amount in your area to apply to. And a lot of them are looking for the same skill set for these types of jobs, but they may label them differently. Salary is good for incident responders as well as like forensic investigators. Generally touching 6 figures. Most, at least the special agents I know, obviously they're above 6 figures with all the perks and everything. Nothing right now with the government shutdown, unfortunately, but normally they get all of the perks and the good pay. But in private sector, incident responders that I know working in that capacity are above 120,000 or more. So it's kind of that range. Like you're generally going to be close to 6 figures. Now, of course, if you're starting out as like a SOC analyst, that's a little kind of a reach depending on your area, maybe like in the San Francisco Bay Area. But in most cases, probably a SOC analyst, you're probably going to look at the 60 to 70,000 range starting out, and then from there you kind of progress up. Different certifications. There's really no one-size-fits-all here. So we've got the EC Council Incident Handler. That's a popular one, as well as the GIAC Certified Incident Handler, the CE, the EC Council. I forget what that one is actually. I think it's the. I forget what the E stands for, but basically it's another form of the incident handler. And actually, that one's from
Expert Incident Handler.
Yeah. I was trying to think. I thought they just added like one more thing to sell you like a next level type of thing. And then, of course, CHFI, which I have, the Computer Hacking Forensic Investigator as well. So that's basically a forensic examiner. Stumble in there. Forensic examiner certification. So that being said, a lot of the incident responders that I know have like none of these. So just kind of keep in mind, like if you're looking for a job as an incident responder, like look at what they're asking for in the job posting. They may not ask for anything, and so you may not need to go spend money on any of these certifications. The most common one, as I mentioned, is the EC Council Certified Incident Handler. As I mentioned, the SOC analyst, so that we have that career path. So just go to the live site, click on that, and it's going to prepare you for basically all of these, right? So components of the SOC analyst, of course, it'll prepare you for that. It'll prepare you for incident response as well as digital forensics career.